Okay, so the first thing we do to make this tofu marinade is you need a KitchenAid here. You don't really need it. You can blend this by hand if you like, but I like to use the Roboku. And we're just going to dump everything in here. A little Marin wine, tamari, red wine vinegar. This is ginger, which I already pre-chopped. This nice ginger here. A little garlic. I like to go a little bit light on the garlic. I just like it to kind of kick off the flavor of the ginger and not overpower it. A little crushed red pepper and some chopped cilantro. I pre-chop it, even though this blade will chop everything up pretty good. I always pre-chop it just in case so you don't get any clumps in there. And you place your lid on firmly and fire it up. So we're going to take our marinade, nice pungent flavors here, and I'm just going to put it in a pan just so that we have a place for our tofu to land and marinate for the duration, which is an hour at least, or up to overnight if you have the time. So what we're using is wildwood tofu here. It's an extra firm organic tofu. I like the texture of it. It's closer to meat, and that's what I'm trying to mimic. And it comes in a great big block, and I beforehand just slit this into nice thin slabs. I don't know what that is, maybe an inch deep. And we're just going to place that in the marinade, like I say, for an hour or up to overnight. But what I'll do is a half hour into this, I'll take this tofu and flip it over so that we make sure that the marinade gets even. Otherwise, you get this sort of two-layered effect, like an eclair almost, in the marinade. You want to make sure all the flavors evenly distributed in that before you take it out and grill it. So nice sizzle there, so that should get us hot enough to get some nice diamonds in this tofu. I'm just going to do 2 pieces of it for now. This should not take too long. The tofu is fully cooked. There's no real need to cook it. And so we're going to turn it on the other angle. It's already got lines on it, if you can see. And so we turn it to the other angle to get the lines to cross. And then we simply, that took maybe 15 seconds or so, another 15 seconds or so on this side, and you can flip it. And what I try to do is move it, again, to a hotter part of the pan so that you get that nice, quick, hot sear when you do flip it, because that part of the pan will be getting a little bit chilled. And I'm just going to put that up there out of the way. It's pretty much cooked through. It's got some nice color. And I'm going to put this pot, which is not too hot, of water, back on the stove. Bring that up to a boil, nice high heat. And one of the things you do when you're cooking pasta, I'll move this out of the way, is add a lot of salt to the water. And the key, when people always say, well, how much salt? Well, you add enough salt until it tastes like salt water, like when you're at the beach and you go under and take in a mouthful. You want that sort of flavor in there. So that's, I always use kosher salt. You're looking at, what, 1/4 cup there maybe? And it's boiling away nicely there. So I chose some soba noodles, some buckwheat noodles here. Buckwheat is actually, it's a fruit. It's not a grain at all. That's interesting. And it contains rutin, a great antioxidant. And we've got, I got like an 8-ounce package here. It's enough for 4 people easily. And just drop that in your boiling water. I don't break them. I really like the long strands of noodles. And just stir them around in here. It's going to take about 5 or 6 minutes for those to boil. And then you just drain them quickly and rinse them with cold water at that point in time. Okay, so now our noodles are cooked, and I drained them and rinsed them in some nice cool water. And also I took the tofu, which finished cooking, and get the nice diamonds on it, and I put that back in the marinade and let that flavor really get down deep inside the tofu. Gives it a great, strong flavor, and almost like a two-layered marinade, the cold marinade and then the hot marinade. So we just take these noodles and dump them in the bowl here, and we'll toss them later with some dressing. Now, the dressing is pretty simple, and it almost parodies the marinade. So we've got some tamari here, which we'll put into the mixer, the Roboku. A little rice wine vinegar. Can't see that, it's clear, but that would be where the wine was. A little sesame oil, toasted sesame oil. A little lime juice, almost enough not to taste it, but it gives that little spark of citrus that you almost don't notice in there. Again, a little garlic, ginger, and crushed red pepper, very similar. and brown sugar. Now, you don't put brown sugar in the marinade. I don't, because that sugar will burn very easily and it gets way too dark and sort of bitter. But I do like that sweet in the dressing. So just replace the top here and give it a quick whiz. And so we'll just put a little of this we'll just pour this into the bowl here. Nice dressing. And I'm just going to put a little bit of it over the noodles, just to give them a little base flavor, so everything gets a little bit of the flavor. Okay, so I've got this nice Asian-looking plate here, little upturned edges, black, and I just want a little bit of that for the tofu to land on. And we also have the salad component, which is just some cabbage. I took some green cabbage and some red cabbage, and you just get a nice sort of thin julienne slice on it there, like that. We'll toss it, a little shredded carrot, some snow peas. You're familiar with these, or you can use snap peas, and you just cut them into a nice julienne cut, nice Asian-looking cut like that. And green onions, which we simply cut also on the bias. And our cabbage, our red and our white cabbage, so you get some nice color in there. And again, a little more dressing. Now, sometimes I'll dress this early. It's similar to a wilted salad. You let that kind of, the vinegars and all those ingredients will start to soften the shredded vegetables and give them a sort of a more weeping quality, which personally I like, but sometimes people want that nice fresh crunch to play a different texture against the tofu and the noodle. And that can go just like that, just enough for color. We're not looking to fatten anybody, just looking to feed them. And our tofu, which we have back in the marinade here. And again, just not to lay it as a big slab on top, you just put a nice cut through it from corner to corner and lay it out. Crisscross. And you get that nice little white there, so there's some difference in the color. And again, a little sesame seed. For garnish, you always want to have that nice finish that says you care.